Hey everybody, welcome to the Artist Workout to tone and strengthen your color and lighting design muscles. So I understand, guys, you're busy, but at the same time, you have a real need to dig into this. And that's exactly what we're going to do over this 30-day workout. Every day, we're going to provide you some materials for you to work on along with me. And we'll spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, somewhere in that range, give or take. Just approach this in whatever way is useful for you. But it's 30 solid demonstrations that we're going to do together over the next 30 days. And just so you can get your head around what our approach will be over the 30 days, we're going to spend today doing a master copy. Tomorrow's work will be a master copy, but with a twist that's going to force you to use your own creativity rather than just mindless copying. Then we'll get into demonstrations that will show you how to put colors together in a meaningful way. Then we'll take those meaningful color designs and we'll push those towards specific emotions so that you get better chops to really learn how to connect with your audience on that emotional level. And then we'll get into some creative visual development, working out our ideas together, and we'll get into production. How do you deal with production assignments in animation, in video game design, in illustration? How do you take a 3D model and do a paint over that just brings it to life with color, light, and atmosphere, and character too, if you're so inclined? So we've got our work cut out for us for the next 30 days, but it's just going to be that 1 hour a day, in some cases a little bit less. And then you can be done and move on with what you've got to do. Let's dive right in. Here we have a gorgeous lighting study by Maxfield Parrish, and I've always loved this one. I've always loved the way he pushed the green into the sky, which really happens as warm light mixes with cool atmosphere, but he's exaggerated that real effect. And he's really picked up on the warm red-orange light of sunset combined with cool light from the sky, bringing a purple into the snow. Those colors just come together gorgeously, and at the same time with meaningful patterns of shapes and value. So let's start here. What we're going to be looking for is the simple statement. How can we take an image that took this man a very long time to do and reproduce it in a meaningful way in less than an hour? And so what we've got to think about first, of course, is what is critical in this image and what can we let go of? And so I mentioned that I want to get those color relationships, the green, the purple, and the orange. And the way I can do that is with three things. I can get the value, meaning the lights and the darks. I can get the color hue, meaning the, blue, purple, orange, green, yellow, whatever the hue is. And I can get the proper level of saturation, how vivid or pure the color is versus how gray or neutral it is. If I can get those three things, I'll have good color design. Additionally, there's meaningful and interesting shapes and patterns here. And so if I can get the shapes coming together in the richly patterned way that he lays it out here, I think we'll have a success together. And one last thing, edges. Hard edges, soft edges, those are clearly part of this design. How one thing flows into the other, whether it's a soft transition or a hard stop. Okay, so that was value, shape, edge, color hue, and color saturation. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so now we're just going to dig in and copy it. I will make a few comments as we go, but I'm just going to paint here and let you paint along, and we'll see how this comes out and what our 1 hour or less interpretation will be. Here we go. So I'm going to go to my brush tool presets here. I'm going to grab a favorite brush, just a simple brush that I use probably for 80% of the work that I do. You see a lot of brushes in that palette, and I'll make a comment about that momentarily, but for now, I want you to pick the color as best you can. I'm picking the color as best I can, just eyeballing it out of the color picker, and then I'm going to choose that purple, the dark purple color in the background, and then I'll come in after that. and get the lighter tone of the snow. And I just want to keep these shapes very simple. I don't want to do all the bumps and all the variations. I want to get how things unify first off. And so I'm just going to go for it. But do feel free to check your colors. If you're not real confident that the colors you're picking are close, go ahead and reach over to the original painting with the color picker and double check that your colors are in the ballpark. Just don't do that right off the bat. If you just color pick straight out of the original painting, you don't really learn anything about eyeballing your own colors. Okay, so as we just continue to simply block this in, a word about my brush palette. There is no brush pack. Nothing that would be useful for you, I think. Sure, I have tons of brushes in there, and most of them are specialty brushes that I used on this project or that project over the many years and thought that I might use again at some point, and maybe I will, but mostly I don't. They're just there handy in case I ever need them. There's a handful of texture brushes, nothing fancy, just brushes that give me a variety of textures to get different kinds of organic feel. I'm a bit of a brute force kind of a painter, meaning put the right, you guessed it, value, shape, edge, hue, and saturation in the right place, and let the rest take care of itself. And so that's what you're seeing over there in the brush palette. Okay, we'll just keep going here. And speaking of texture brushes, it's just a simple texture brush I'm putting up in the sky, getting the feel for the big shapes of those clouds, and then I'll just put a blur on it to try and reproduce generally the feeling of the clouds in the original. As much as I want to keep this moving, because it's the first day, I also don't want to leave you high and dry as to what the quality of the brushes are that I'm using over this stretch. And so let's take a moment out to give that to you in case you need it here. And so let me just fill this in, and you can capture these brushes if you're interested. This is my go-to brush here. Okay, and I'll just show you. I have scattering checked, but there's actually nothing set on that, so we can turn that off. So this is a standard Photoshop brush, and I don't know for sure if it's available with the Photoshop that you had. I've been running with Photoshop for a very long time. But I have texture turned on here, and so you can see the texture that I have. It's just this one right here, one of the standard Photoshop textures, just a gravelly kind of a texture. And the contrast pulled a bit, texture each tip. You can see that it's set on subtract and what the depth is. And so I have pressure sensitivity turned on as well. And so it's just a nice organic brush that I can push and pull and get a nice stroke out of. So that's it. That's all it is. If you want to do a quick capture, that'll be faster than anything I can give you. And the other brush that I use a small percentage of the time, but probably the brush I might use in second place, this one, because it has a really nice organic texture. And that's the brush. And you can grab that, you can screen capture and grab that. And so I'll go back to the settings on this one. And so a little bit of size jitter, a little bit of scattering and count. And then I also have pressure sensitivity turned on to it. Okay, back to the ranch here.